What happened the first time Obi-Wan secretly saved Luke's life on Tatooine? While in exile on Tatooine, former Jedi Master Obi-Wan, now going under the name Ben, kept a low profile. Being one of the very last of his order, now all but obliterated by the evil empire ruling the galaxy, hope dwindled year by year. But there he stayed, just in case Luke needed him. And on this day, Luke needed Kenobi's help more than he could ever know. Let's start at the beginning. The blisteringly hot sun and the blue sky actually made the unforgiving environment on Tatooine look somewhat hopeful. Maybe today, unlike all the others, would be good. Tatooine had other plans. Obi-Wan, trudging through the sand in his tattered garments, was met with a group of bandits on a speeder. Sadly, scenes like this were becoming more and more commonplace on the crime-ridden planet. These were Jabba's thugs, and they were here to extort water from Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Despite his wariness, Kenobi was defiant. The criminals raised their guns at Obi-Wan, threatening him. Though at gunpoint by the criminals, he stood up for the innocent people of the planet. And especially in this case, since the home he was protecting housed the young son of Anakin Skywalker, he wasn't willing to turn a blind eye, as he had done in previous encounters. In an effort to serve Jabba the Hutt, crime lord and now ruler of the planet, the thugs stole the precious little water and moisture away from farmers, leaving them with nothing in the piercing sun. Ben knew he had abandoned the Jedi way long ago. Obi-Wan was afraid that if he used his powers or even dared to interfere in Jabba's operations around Tatooine, that he would be discovered by Vader. And if Vader discovered that Obi-Wan was on his home planet, then Vader would ask questions. Why? Why would Obi-Wan hide on Anakin's home planet? What could possibly be his motivation? If Vader asked these questions, it would be a short while before he would discover Luke. Kenobi couldn't allow that. He turned a blind eye as they beat, butchered, and extorted them. Until now, Kenobi tried to send the thugs away peacefully. With a wave of his hand, he summoned his faithful Jedi mind trick. He even convinced the thugs to threaten him, so that their behavior appeared believable, so that after they reported their attacks back to Jabba, the Hutt wouldn't become suspicious. The bandits rode away, leaving the once great warrior deflated. With one hand, he had saved Owen's moisture farm from paying Jabba's harsh tax. But was it a small enough intervention to avoid detection from locals? It had to be. There was only one hope left for this galaxy, and Kenobi had to keep him safe. Only a child, Luke was filled with optimism. He would sit gazing at the twin suns, dreaming of a life off-world. Ben just needed to get to him and make him realize he could be more than a farm boy, and make those dreams a reality. Yet hope dwindled fast. That year, the drought and water loss was worse than ever before. Ben felt that it was his fault. Putting the blame on himself for not being able to use his powers to the best of his ability, the light blue sky that once seemed hopeful was now a large juxtaposition. As Ben sat meditating and using the Force to lift objects only to lose hope and fail, he wanted nothing but to fade away, which is something he had never been trained to do. The fight for water raged on through the community. Although, even without his powers, Kenobi tried to help. He had discovered a way to produce water, one that didn't rely on moisture farms. In a packed, bustling town center, he tried to sell black melons, a natural fruit that, while tasting awful, provided milk, a source for water that the Tusken Raiders had only known, but nobody was interested. The farmers and traders in the market turned Kenobi away. They were stuck in their ways, believing that moisture farming was the only way to get drinkable water. Just before he could bring the stall proprietor around, a protest broke out in the crowd. Demanding their water back, the townspeople stood up to the bandits now patrolling the markets. Any hopes of the innocent being listened to were quickly dashed. Jabba's thugs pulled out their guns and prepared to fire. Peace was never an option in these parts, especially when theft of this level was involved. All Ben could do was look on. Using his Jedi powers to stop the injustice in front of so many witnesses would mean death not just for him, but the entire Jedi Order. It would certainly attract Vader's attention. And Vader was too smart to think that Kenobi just so happened to be hiding on Tatooine. He would sense that Kenobi was here for a purpose, and he would eventually discover Luke. Even his bartering under cover of darkness was a risk. It was time to leave the town. Back at his homestead, Kenobi contemplated everything. The desert now boasted a dark, smoldering bluish hue. Somehow, He knew his former master, Qui-Gon Jinn, would be proud of his restraint, but when so many innocent people were dying, he found it hard to understand the pride in that. Suddenly, he sensed something. Luke had gone missing. He failed at his only purpose. While his aunt and uncle searched for him, a different group found him. Across the Dune Sea, a group of Jabba's thugs pulled up to Luke. Jabba's thugs began to question Luke, and accused him of stealing Jabba's water, which he was. The piercing headlights from their vehicle diluted the darkening blue in the sky. Though surrounded, Luke was defiant. It was not Jabba's water, it was the people's water. Even though the boy was pulling off the heist himself, the thugs, perhaps to Luke's credit, didn't believe him. They didn't have plans as brutal as usual for this particular townsperson, but intended to capture him nonetheless, until a surprise ally stopped by. The headlights of the enemy speeder were suddenly blown. The world was completely turned black. Looking around, the criminals started to panic. Suddenly, they started being picked off one by one, dragged through the dirt and sand as they screamed for help in disbelief. Blasters started flying. There was no assailant in sight. In an act of desperation, one of the bandits, a dagger-wielding protocol droid, grabbed Luke, threatening to kill him if the anomalies continued, shouting into the blue nothingness. Before the threat could even be finished, 2 massive rocks came crashing down on the droid. Finally, the last thug was eliminated by his own speeder, levitated and smashed upon him. These were forces beyond their control. It was Ben. Slowly walking amongst the disarmed assailants, he found Luke unconscious. Carrying him in his arms, Ben started to gain his self-worth as he delivered the boy to his family. Sadly, Luke was none the wiser, and even sadder, Kenobi couldn't reveal his heroics. He had to simply leave and let the boy live his own life. But this small victory suddenly put things into perspective for the former Jedi Master. It was not the end of the Jedi. It was a new beginning.